y'all with another episode of the Major Music Lounge podcast. It's your boy D Dot. If this is your first time here, either on this channel or listening to the podcast on a streaming platform, like to talk all things music production, also like to interview artists. Mainly, this is a podcast for creators. So if you're on a production side, you like to talk about maybe the gear that you use. If you're a sound designer, if you're a music production app developer, maybe you may also have a project that's coming out. Definitely would love to have you on the Major Music Lounge podcast. You can listen to new episodes here on this channel as well as all podcast streaming platforms. You could also follow me on Instagram at d._majormusic. Same thing on TikTok, and you can follow me on Twitter at d.mme. And for those of y'all that are on Facebook as well, I can be found at d.majormusic on Facebook. So it's been a while since I did one of these solo episodes. And on this episode, I'm going to talk about how I prepare for doing beat challenges. There is a beat challenge coming next month from another fellow YouTuber by the name of Tatro. He does this beat challenge, which not just for music production, but also raises funds for a charity, but it's called Beatober, and that takes place every October, which for Beatober, what that is you make a beat and post it every day. And I'm going to talk a little bit in this video about how I kind of maneuver through getting beats posted on a daily basis. I know it can be hard for some, especially when creativity doesn't really happen for us all every day. And also other things like life happening. I know everybody maybe goes to school. They may also work a 9-to-5 job. And they may also have to spend time with their family in between doing all of this. So I'm just going to share some of what's gotten me by. I've actually did Beatober the last 2 years. But I know outside of that, there's also some other beat challenges that some producers and beat makers do that require you to make beats on a daily basis, or at least post a beat video on a daily basis. And I'm just going to go over how I kind of get through doing that. So speaking of creativity, make the best of the days that your creativity is flowing. And what I mean by that is don't just make one beat. If your creativity is flowing after you made that first beat and like, hey, I can go for a second, maybe I can go for a third. Challenge yourself to keep on pushing through, because over the course of a month's time, unless you have this special gift, which doing Beatober the last 2 years, I've had some difficulty coming up with new ideas every day. And then I spoke on it earlier. There are some times where life just happens. I know like 1 year I actually got sick in the middle of Beatober, so I wasn't really creating beats every day as I needed to be a part of the challenge. I still got through it, but there were days, luckily for me, I actually, on the days that I was kind of flowing with creativity, I made more than just one beat, allowing me on the days where I didn't have any time to create, or maybe something came up, I still had a video ready to go. Now the next thing on the list, I just encourage, generally speaking, but more so for Beatober, find a program or app, because I know a lot of you use different DAWs. Kind of like myself, I don't just use Machine, I don't just use MPC, I don't just use Beatmaker 3. I use a lot of different programs and applications to make beats. However, there are some programs, which everybody, is that case, but there are some other apps and programs where I know it a little bit better than others. Like Machine, for example. I've been using Machine for a little over 10 years. Another one would be Beatmaker 3. I've been using that one since 2017. And then, of course, the MPC. That's something I've been using. Overall, I've been using MPC off and on for pretty much about 10 to 15 years. Just the way that I'm able to go through all these different applications. I know where all my samples are. When it comes to doing beat challenges, you may be limited with time. So you want to be able to go inside of your DAW, know where everything is, know how to create, not really have anything that'll slow you down so you can move on to the next video. And as I was saying in tip number one, on days that you have the creativity flowing, that'll allow you to be more productive in creating. With that being said, let's say you got all of your videos done. Well, then I suggest finding a video editing program or app that you're really comfortable using, just like I said about the DAWs, because you're going to be editing videos possibly every day, maybe even some days multiple videos. Me personally, my go-to is usually LumaFusion, which is on the iPad, and that I believe runs about $24.99. I also use other applications like Final Cut, for example, and Final Cut I believe is in the App Store for like $2.99. Those are going to be mainly the two video editing applications that I like to use when I'm editing a lot of my content. Sometimes I'll use even iMovie to a degree for the titles. iMovie, I feel though, doesn't give you the flexibility as the other two applications as far as whenever you're able to like align audio with the actual video. The process is a little bit more work to it when it comes to iMovie opposed to those other two applications. And that's all a part of it. Me personally, when I'm making a beat making video, I don't necessarily like to have the metronome in the background. I kind of almost make my beat making videos almost how you would do a music video, for example. I export the stems and I kind of build my video as I'm building my beats. So, I may start off, for example, and everything's going to be different, but I may start off one time with the melody and then so on and so forth, drums, hi-hats, percussion, and then bass line. And every beat, again, the process is going to be different, but I take all of those stems and I just align it in either LumaFusion or Final Cut, so I don't have the metronome going off in the background. Plus, for a lot of people that are actually listening to the videos or watching the videos on either YouTube or Instagram, they can just go ahead, throw in their headphones or their AirPods or whatever it is, and they can, truly hear the beat that I'm making. Sometimes I know, like using the sub bass, for example, on a beat making video, they can't always hear that on a platform like Instagram, for example. So I don't always mix the beat that I'm making in the videos before I finish editing a video. I may do it. I actually, like, before I upload the beat that I'm making in the video, before I upload it to BeatStars, then I'll go ahead and mix it in a lot of cases. But if I'm just editing and taking the stems and aligning it with the video, I don't actually mix my beat. So you hear it for what it is. If you want to hear the updated version, I may put it on the beat tape or it's going to be on my BeatStars page. With that being said, the next step I would say is you're going to want to start uploading videos every day in advance. Me personally, what's worked for me in the past is when it comes to a challenge like Beatober that requires you to upload a beat every day, I like to at least stay a week ahead as far as my uploads. Kind of like I was saying at the beginning of the video, is you never know when life will just happen, or maybe you just have that one busy week. Like, for example, right now, I'm also not only doing this podcast, but I'm also working on another album in addition to all the rest of the content that I do for YouTube and I bring you this week, that I bring you every week. So I like to stay a week in advance. That way, if there are any hiccups along the way, or, as I said earlier, I got sick during one of the challenges, so I was down for a couple of days and I was not able to create. So I already had a week worth of videos just kind of ready to go. And in fact, this Beatober, I'm going to be going to Las Vegas for a couple of days. So while I'm not here, I'm gonna have all those videos ready to go. So you probably wouldn't know that unless I said it here in this video, or if you follow me on Instagram, for example. But I like to stay ahead when I'm doing these beat making videos, And then that allows me, on a side note, just to get up in the morning as to where I have the beat making video already uploaded to YouTube. I then just have it on my phone and I can upload it straight to Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, or wherever else I choose to upload my beat making videos. And something else you may want to try, this may sound like I'm contradicting myself from what I said earlier in the video. It may be of your benefit to sometimes work in between different DAWs. Now, I only suggest that if you know these DAWs, digital audio workstations, all equally kind of the same. In my case, the three that I go through, if you never heard before, is Machine. I also like to work in MPC, and then I also like to work in Beatmaker 3. Sometimes I may use other applications like Reason, for example, or Chord Gadget, or I may work with just hardware, for example, the MPC-1 and the Arturia Micro Freak, and then I also have the Uno drum synth and the Uno synth from IK Multimedia, which is pretty much going to be all of my hardware. And I may just sometimes make beats with all of those different pieces of hardware. But I say that only to say that sometimes working in between different applications or different pieces of hardware, I like the workflow, and that allows me to kind of create differently on each of them. Now, all of them, I have my sample libraries arranged a certain way, so that allows me to be able to find what I need and start creating in a short amount of time. And the last thing that I have, and I haven't done this personally, I may actually do it this year, but previous years I've actually saw some of the other participants in Beatober that have done this, and that's going to be collaborate with other beat makers and creators. And there was this one year I remember I saw, I think it was 4 different people, but each person played their instruments. There was somebody played the drums, and they all actually had each of themselves making the video in 4 different windows. And then the editing was really good on it. I wish I knew the name exactly, but I do remember seeing the video. And not only did they get a chance to work with each other, but I'm sure they grew their networks by this beat maker or this producer's followers seeing the other people on the video, decide, hey, maybe they wanted to work with them, follow them, or you never know what other opportunities that could help you with later on down the line by creating with some of the other talented people that are part of this beat challenge. That's pretty much going to be the 5 different bullet points that I kind of wanted to touch on before Beatober. Now, this is not only for Beatober, but can be applied to any beat challenge that goes over the course of a month's time. I know staying creative every day for an entire month can be hard for a lot of us. Sometimes it may be even harder to stay creative for an entire week. So, and in the event of maybe the ideas not being able to flow, I did talk about getting to a point where, if you do have days where the creativity is there, create as much as you can. But on days where it's not, don't be afraid to step away. That's why you got a couple of other beat making videos ready to go. Maybe go out for a walk, go work out, go play video games, watch a movie, do something that's productive. If you got another passion besides music, besides creating music, go ahead and do that, whatever that is. I know some people are into like art and drawing. Some people may be into photography. Some people may be into other forms of content. Like for myself, I don't just do like the Major Music Lounge podcast. I also do like some content in relation to the Raiders. So sometimes I may step away for a day or two and work on some of that content, then come back to doing music production related things. So do whatever it takes to get through the month, but just have fun with it. Now, aside from that, I do also do like, there's a sample challenge from a follower. There's a sample challenge which some of the past guests on the Major Music Lounge, for example, Misled, as well as Beatmakers, the squad, but they are two of the creators that are a part of the We Sample Everything podcast, and they do a beat challenge during the summer. It's actually a sample challenge where they give you a new sample each week to go ahead and flip and then post it online. That's another good sample challenge. They did it actually, I believe, every week this past summer, and now they're kind of announcing the winners. But I like that one because it kind of gets me thinking about how I'm going to flip different samples. And I hear some of the other participants in the sample challenge themselves and see how they do it. And it kind of, makes me walk back how they may have flipped the sample. But that's another sample challenge that I like to do. And then it's not something that is every day. So I definitely encourage you, if you're not following We Sample Everything, go ahead, hit them with a follow on Instagram. I like beat challenges because it kind of pushes your creativity. And, me, for example, I like to make a lot of those like boom bap type beats, or maybe a little bit of West Coast, a little bit trap here and there. But I have a lot of different expansions, whether you're talking MPC wise or whether you're talking in the machine ecosystem. But I say that only to say some of those expansions I don't use as often as others. And when I'm doing beat challenges, it allows me to go through some of these different sound packs or expansions because sometimes I'm guilty of it. I don't do it as often anymore as I did years ago, but it's actually benefiting me now in these beat challenges. But I used to buy a lot of different sample packs and expansions every time they go on sale. Synthesizers, plugins, you name it. I would see it on sale and I would just buy it. And with these beat challenges, now what I'm doing is going back and I'm exploring a lot of these expansions or VSTs or plugins, and I found some inspiration in a lot of these sounds, and it's benefiting me because whether it's beat making videos, beat challenges, it's allowing me something fresh and new. And even though I've been having it for a while, but I'm finding a lot of motivation to create when I'm hearing some of these sounds and then going through and tweaking them and making my own sounds out of it. So kind of one of my points that I made in the video, which is using different DAWs, because some of them, there's just something different about the workflow, or whatever it is. In this case, we're talking expansions, and I know there's other things out there that like Kitmaker, where you can use expansions in other DAWs. For example, if you want to use machine expansions inside of MPC, the MPC software, Kitmaker allows you to export and turn those into the MPC format. So, but I only say that because going back and thinking about how many different expansion packs or sound packs that I bought in the past, it's benefited me tremendously the past 2 years when it came to Beatober and any other beat challenge that I've been a part of, by just finding something fresh and new that motivates me to create. So that's another reason why I like to be a part of these beat challenges, because as I said earlier, I have my own sound, but outside of that, sometimes I may try something new, and Beatober is the perfect opportunity for me to do so. That's pretty much all I got. I wanted to come through and do a solo episode of the Major Music Lounge podcast because I haven't done one in quite some time. There's been a lot of creators hitting me up to be on the show. I had a long streak of just artists and producers and just people within the music community hitting me up to be on the show. And I want to thank everybody that has been a part of the Major Music Lounge since I started almost 2 years ago. It has its times where things are kind of going strong, and I have a lot more interviews than time to be able to upload to YouTube, but then there are also times where it's just kind of slow and I'm having to do more of these solo shows. Now, I do like doing the solo shows. It allows me to be able to just share some of my thoughts on some of the things in the music production, or generally speaking, music creator community that comes up. So I like doing some of these solo shows from time to time. But also, I do like connecting with other creators and getting some thoughts and perspective from them over some of the same things, or them possibly sharing a new project, new album, whatever that looks like, that they are working on. So if you are one of these creators, maybe even a content creator here on YouTube within the music production space, definitely hit me up, and you can hit me up on any of these social platforms like TikTok and Instagram, for example, at d._major music. Same thing on Facebook. You can hit me up actually on Twitter at d.mme. And if you really enjoyed this video, go ahead, hit the like button. It really helps this channel. And hit the subscribe button as well. Again, if you're interested in being on the show, go ahead, hit me up on one of those platforms. We'd definitely love to have you. I'm going to be ramping up some of these interviews in the coming months because the holidays are not that far off, and every year, kind of towards that back into November, going into December, I usually like to take that time off. So I want to kind of have some shows ready to go when it comes to be that time. And then I'm also going to probably be using that time to promote the album that I'm going to be releasing in a couple of months. Stay tuned for more information on that. Until next time, it's your boy D. Dot with another episode of Major Music Lounge, and I'm out.